Six properties hit the South Florida income. Six income producing properties hit the South Florida market today. Let's check them out. Let's see what's going on, guys. Sorry, it is Monday. It's crazy Monday. That being said, just really quick, you guys have to know how we are looking at interest rates. 6.23. We get that information off of the 30-year fixed rate mortgage provided to us by the Federal Reserve, right? And that's right here, right? And we saw it was coming down for a good chunk of time, right? And then it just started spiking due to that whole thing with Iran. And now for 3 weeks in a row, it's been dropping. The average for the last week was 6.23. Hopefully it's continuing to drop. And we have even better news. But again, high interest rates, if you're a buyer, you could go out there and you could use that to your advantage because that means that there's going to be less buyers, right? Let's say, like, for example, like down here, there, if you're a buyer, you had more buyers competing with you at your certain, whatever your price range is, right? Let's say $600,000, like it has right now, like it's on the calculator right now. There's going to be a certain portion of buyers that are qualified up to $600,000, okay? The moment interest rates start going up, that number of qualified buyers starts going down because now they're going to have to pay more money every single month in interest, which means that the actual amount of money that they could spend as a whole is going to come down, if that makes sense. So again, use this to your advantage if interest rates are still high to go out there and try to get yourself a good deal and negotiate. The next thing that we're going to use to be able to negotiate a good deal is going to be the actual market that you're in. In South Florida, right now, this is the way that it's looking. You're having more houses having a price decrease, right, than are even coming onto the market, okay? Meaning that for every house that's hitting the market, you're having more than just one house have a price decrease. What does that tell you? It tells you that if we find a house right now that's like a C, it's probably it's reasonable to think that we're going to be able to drop the price a little bit to make it a C plus, or if it's a C plus, make it a B, you know, those sort of things. So, and you can use this information with a listing agent, with a seller if you're dealing with him directly, to be able to leverage yourself a better deal. So with that being said, guys, let's take a look at the 6 properties that hit the market today. And we could see if any of them make sense, if any of these could cash flow for you. Hopefully they do. I hope that you guys are taking notes of your properties. I sure am. I'm taking notes of every single property every single day because the ones that make sense, I'm going after. And so you guys should too. I'm not gonna, you know, want to buy them all, and I can't. I wish I had that much money, but I don't. So. Right? And I'm going to want to do maybe more fixer-uppers than you guys just because I have more experience with that. You guys might want to do more turnkey properties, right? So a property that's a B, maybe I want to take a C property because I feel like I could take it to an A, right? That might not be the deal for you. But anyway, let's take a look at what we have here. All right, everything from $566 a square foot down to $328. Purchase prices from $1.4 million. Down to today, the cheapest house is $796. So let's get started with the most expensive one per square foot. It says 1.236. What a specific price. 9 crazy price here for this triplex in Miami that they're currently paying $11,634 a year in taxes. Square feet, 2,184 square feet. Okay, rents. They don't tell us how much they're collecting in rents. Flood zone at E, you're going to pay a little bit more in premium for that. Let's take a look here at the quality of the product that we have. By the way, rents, we don't know what those are, so we're going to put 0 here. All right. All right, well, whoops, here we go. All right, what do you guys think about this? Interesting. I've never seen this cut out before. Whoops. But all right, cool. Look, you can see 1, 2, 3 different meters. Okay, the insides actually look pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, that's one unit. We don't know what the other ones look like, but if they look anything like that, that's a pretty nice product. Now, I don't think it's going to be able to rent for enough, but let's see. Location, great. Opportunity, multifamily, remodel, blah, 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 blah. It does have a flat roof, guys. So at the end of the day, they might have remodeled it, but it has a flat roof. Multifamily, 3 units. 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 3 bedroom, 1 bath in the back of the house. In-house, back. Absolutely wonderful apartment. And man, these people need to learn how to like spell check this stuff. In the heart of Little Havana, steps from Cayo to the wharf. The wharf is closed. As far as I know. All right, so there's that information, guys. That's all that they really give us. And so let's do a quick rent check on this property, right? Because if it doesn't collect rent, it's not worth it. So quick little rent check here, Miami-Dade. For a 2-1, on average, you're gonna get $2,300. If it's in Little Havana and it looks a little renovated the way that it looks right now, maybe you could get like $2,550 for it. So let's say you get $2,550 times 2, and then there's a 3-1. The 3-1 normally median average is about like $2,700. Let's give them like $2,900, okay, for that 3-1. And that means that the best they could do is $8,000 a month, right? And we don't know this. You guys got to double check these rents. These are median rents. Maybe you could do a little bit better, right? But I'm thinking that this is probably where you're going to get based on this area. And I think that what's a good price that you could actually negotiate down? Because right now the way it is, guys, let's see. 1.237. Yeah, 1.24 million, okay? 1.24 million. It's a triplex. It's in Miami-Dade. I think that right now the best rents you're going to get on that are $8,000 a month, which means that the returns on that are going to be 9.3% at best, okay? At best. Now, if we could reduce the price here a little bit, it might make it more attractive. This guy with this crazy price, right? Like, I don't know where he pulled this price out of, but I'm sure that when people usually put these crazy, like, specific prices, like, they're really trying to stick to something normally. And so it's a little harder for us to bring them down because they have some sort of weird rule that they're going to attach by. But we just got to detach them from that really quick and show them that we have our own little weird rule. And this one is like, hey, buddy, I can't really make you an offer if I'm not getting at least 125% of the mortgage. Of the rents of the mortgage, right? In terms of rent income. So again, let's say your mortgage is $1,000. You want the rent income to be $1,250, right? You want to have that buffer, that 25% buffer. So when you have vacancies, when you have repairs, when you have capital expenditures, right? That you're saving a little bit of money there every single month and still have a little slice left over for you is for profit, right? And that's the minimum. And that's usually what banks want to see too. So we could also always come at them too with our crazy little number, 1.25 DSCR ratio, and tell them like, hey, you need to lower this price to like, let's say 1.1 million. Right? And that gets us much closer to our DSCR ratio. And I think that that's also like a realistic place, right? Like bring him down his $137,000. So with a $137,000 price cut, right? Whoops, not there, 137. Price cut, it's in the 0.7% of the 1% rule, right? So it's 70% there. And then in the DSCR, we're almost at the 125. But that does bring us up to an 11.4, return. Best possible scenario. Okay. And that's still with rents at $8,000. I don't see this guy being in some sort of distress, but we could check that out in the limited records that we have here. Yeah, I don't see any kind of distress here. There's a levy from the city of Miami, but that gets paid at closing from his proceeds. So, all right, we'll close this. Let's take a look at our next property. This property, I think, at worst it's an F. At best, it's a C minus. It could make you better returns than the S&P 500, right? You would cash flow on day one if you put a 25% down payment loan. Otherwise, it would take you a while to cash flow. Yeah. Now, can it create wealth? Yeah, it could create wealth. It's just not the best that we've seen. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll refine this. We'll discard this property, and we shall keep looking. All right, next up, it's an $850,000 triplex. Whoops, I don't know where I was typing. $850,000 triplex in Broward County, paying $12,898 a year. Interest rate is what it is. Square foot, 1,998 square feet. Do they tell us the rents? They don't, or the flood zone. Let's take a look at the quality of the product here, and we'll put these at zeros. Okay. So it looks cute. It's nice, freshly painted. You could tell pressure washed floors. They could have put some sod down to make it look better, but you know, it is what it is. I don't like this like thing here, but whatever. You could paint that later, or stain it. Okay, not bad. You know, simple. Yeah. It looks pretty well maintained, actually, right? So we'll close that down. We will open, let's take a look at the guts of this deal. See how much they're collecting. It's in Hollandale Beach, guys. Okay. So this says investors delight, yada, yada, yada. Brand new ACs, tankless hot water heaters. Kitchens have new stainless steel appliances, yada, yada, yada. What are they saying? Okay, so it's 3, 2, 1s. And they said they're collecting $2,100 a piece. Oops. And so that means that they're collecting a total of $6,300 a month, right? Now, here's a red flag, guys. Month to month. Month to month is a big red flag because it means that this is probably not what they're going to be able to collect every single month, right? Usually month to month, not usually, 99% of the time, month-to-month leases are going to have a price premium because, shoot, you're living there for a month. When you move out, that landlord's going to have to basically, or you as a landlord, you're going to have to go back in there and you're going to have to make sure that it's ready for the next person. When a person moves in, they want to have everything clean, even if they're not clean. They want it to be clean, which is crazy, right? But you got to have it that way because you don't know the standards of the person that's coming. So you got to leave it at the best standards. Very clean, no holes, no blemishes, nothing like that, right? And so you got to churn it. And so to do that every single month and have an uncertainty, imagine like you get your rent on the 1st and by the 15th, you're like, dude, like, am I going to have a tenant like next month? Like, and by the way, if you're thinking about it, you're thinking about that on the 15th, you're already late, right? Like if you get a tenant for 1 month, like, dude, on the 2nd day of the month, like I'm thinking like, dude, is this guy going to renew? Am I going to be without like rental income from that unit the next month? You don't want to have that. So that's why you charge more. And so that means that you're going to have to charge less. So as a matter of fact, a rent check right now, this property at $850K, guys, it's a triplex in Broward, right? It's collecting $6,300. That gives us returns, if we come down here, 10% on the nose, okay? 10% on the nose. So it compares directly with the S&P, 10%. But I think that the actual rents here that you can get, and let's go up here to the rent check, right? For a 2-1 in Broward County, it's $1,960. And I want to say that for the quality of this product, maybe it's about maybe you could do like I want to say like $1,950, $1,960. So let's say that you rent that one out for $2,000, okay? Let's say you rent them all out for $2,000, shoot, you know? And the way that you make sure about this, guys, is you do a rental analysis for within 1/10 of a mile of this property, and you look for 2s that are the same build, right, or the same like quality, and of the same square footage, more or less, right? That's what you're gonna look for, to see what people are willing to pay in that area. And I think that the realistic rents here is not $6,300, but it's probably more close to $6,000. And now the question is, how much do you think that you could drop this guy's price by? Okay. I think that it's possible that you could drop this guy's price by just a little bit. I don't think a whole lot. I think that this guy would be willing to take maybe like $775. That's at the most. I think that that's what this guy would do. Okay. At that point, you know, you're making about 118% of your mortgage in terms of rental income, which it's good. It's all right, but banks want to see 125 to give you better rates. Okay. So it's not going to be the best. And so you can see here that the best that this property is going to be able to do realistically is going to be a 10.4% return, which, I mean, for me, that's like a D. Like, you're barely getting a little bit more. The property looks like it's in an all right shape. So if you're trying to just get into real estate, you know, just to really like feel it out, you don't really care if the returns are better than the S&P, and you love the area and like, you know, you like the idea of a triplex, then go for it, right? It might be for you. For me, it's not enough returns. There are way more properties out there that do better returns than this, but it's not a total loser. All right, it's not a total fail, but yeah, this one wouldn't get you a degree. It's a D. Okay, next up, and we got a little preview there, but let's put this price up on the board, $975. It's a duplex in Broward County. Currently, they're paying $8,665 a year in taxes. Square feet, 2,402 square feet. The rents that they're getting, they're not getting much, well, they don't tell us anything about the rents that they're getting, okay? Mind you. So we'll do that, and let's take a look at the pictures, guys. I'm interested for this. All right, like that's a big boat. That means that this property has access to the ocean. These are one of my favorite properties, okay? I love to talk about these. Duplexes that have ocean access, dude. Look how nice the entrances are, okay? So very well maintained, very pretty looking property. Yeah, gorgeous. Obviously, you want to go out there and see it for yourself, but so far, this one's a stunner. And you have this seawall back here. This is the big thing that you don't know about, right? The seawall stuff, and most people don't know about it. But when you do an inspection for a home like this, you need to really call out, not an inspector, you need to call an engineer out, right? And they got to put on like a scuba stuff, or you got to ask like the neighbors, like, hey, has an engineer come out here and done a seawall analysis anytime soon? Hopefully in the last year, and so they could tell you yes or no, and you could see the report and make sure that they analyzed your portion of the seawall, because just recovering, or not recovering, God forbid, just replacing that seawall, okay, it's very, very, very expensive. So, okay. But yeah, I mean, this property is gorgeous. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they're collecting in rents here. All right. So Oakland Park, yeah, this rare waterfront duplex features 2 units, each with 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, all in impeccable conditions. Both units renovated by the owner, including the driveway. Roof is only 6 years old. Both units have AC, da 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 da. Versatile layout, okay. Man, each one is 1,200 square feet. You could probably turn that into a 3-2, right? So 2,500 square feet a piece. Sorry, 1,200 square feet a piece. And he's saying that he's getting $2,500 for each one of those. Okay. So guys, in terms of like an investment property, this would be a pretty freaking terrible deal, right? Let's do a quick rent check, although I think that, right, this is going to rent out for the max here. And you might be able to get more rent, actually, you know? You might be able to get a little bit more rent. I don't know how he advertised it, but even if you got the $3,000, right? Because I think that this property, you know, there's a 2-2 that could get it. It's going to be something like this. Okay, it doesn't have a pool, but again, you have access to the boat, like, you know. $3,000 a month, that puts you at $6K. It still would not, I mean, it would barely pay off your mortgage at that point. But look where it's at on the 1% rule, at a 0.6 on the 1% rule. Okay. Yeah. So again, let's put this information down on our list. $975, and this is a duplex in Broward. It's collecting $5K, right? And the returns as they are, it's an abysmal 6%. But this is the one with ocean access, so yeah, that's nice. All right, and I think the maximum again that you could get for rents here is going to be $6,000. I don't see this guy being in any sort of distress. And now, what's a realistic price drop that you could possibly see for this house? I think dropping it like 75K would probably be realistic. I don't see this guy going below 900, maybe just a little bit, maybe like, yeah, probably like 900, just because it's a waterfront home. It has its own unique, you know, people want this, right? So at best, I think that you end up with, yeah, you know, almost a 0.7% on the 1% rule, you know, just enough to maybe convince, if you could lower the price to this, and convince the bank that you get 3K for each one of those units, or a total of 6K, a bank would lend you money for it. And at that point, you know, the returns would be at best, let's see, a 9.1% return, which for us is still below the S&P, and for that, you know, that's an F. But again, this property offers a lifestyle, right? And for a lifestyle, you pay more. The question is like, well, are you going to pay for it? Or are your tenants going to pay for it? Well, if your tenants are going to pay for it, like, I think that's the maximum that they would pay. But again, do your homework. Maybe it's more money. Maybe they're paying $4,500 for a 2-2 with access to the water. You never know. All right, next up. Yeah, remember that, guys. Real estate is hyper local. So you know what somebody's paying in like you know, one corner, you could, you know, cross like literally like a bridge, train tracks, you know, just a couple blocks over, and it could be a completely different pricing. So make sure to check that stuff. All right, this one, 1.425 million. Okay, taxes, $16,312 a year in taxes. Interest rate, it is what it is. Square feet, 3,616. Okay, they are telling us that they're collecting $7,890 a month in rent. But guys, if you guys know the 1% rule, this is going to be close to half of a 1%, right? So, and on top of that, they're paying a little bit extra in terms of insurance because they are in AE flood zone. Let's take a look at the quality of the product here. It's pretty. Yeah, it's really pretty. On the inside, it could use a little bit more updating. Mini splits. Yeah. So I would say there's like a B minus quality. A on the out, or like B on the outside, B minus on the inside. Okay, but they do say that they have 421s. Okay, 421s. They're in Miami-Dade, and they're collecting $78.90. All right, so let's put that down here. 1425. Okay, and this is a fourplex in Miami-Dade, currently collecting $7,890. At that rate, guys, the best return on investment this property could give you is a 6.2%, and that would be an abysmal F, okay, of a property. Now, what's the best that this property can do? All right, well, you can see it right here. These guys are struggling to get anything rented for more than $2,040, right? And does that mean the average here in Miami? Well, actually, the median in Miami is $2,300 for a 2-1. So you got to wonder if there's any way that you could actually, you know, get a little bit more for this. Yeah, and they say that it's in Miami Beach, like prime Miami Beach. So maybe you could get a little bit more, guys. Maybe you could get like $2,200 on each. But even if you got that, guys, and even if you reduce this price by, say, I don't know, 125K down to 1.3K, 1.3 mil. The best return here that you're going to be able to get is an 8.6, which is still below the S&P, and it's still not enough for us. Shoot, if you actually gave this guy the maximum and he said 2,300, at best this property, and you're able to drop to 125 grand, the best this property would do is a 9.4, which is still below the S&P. So for that reason, this property is also an F. Okay, second to last property, guys. We have a, let's see, $796,300 duplex in Miami-Dade, currently paying $7,162 a year in taxes. Square feet, 2,057 square feet, not bad. All right. Do they tell us how much they're collecting in rents? No, but they do tell us it's in flood zone X, which is the best kind of flood zone we could be in. Look at the inside, popcorn ceilings, a little bit dated floors, right? Those baseboards are also a bit dated. The kitchen looks nice. Okay, you could put nicer what do you call it? Doorknobs there. Yeah, so it just looks a little bit dated. But you could probably put new floors and it will look really nice. So, and new baseboards. The backyard looks nice too. Okay, so nice property. Let's look at the guts of this deal. See what it is. Location, location, location. Multifamily in the heart of Miami. Yada, yada, yada. All right. 5,000 square foot lot with 5 bedrooms and 3 baths. 2 units. A 3-2 with a washer and dryer. And a 2-1. They don't tell us that the 2-1 has a washer and dryer. Okay. So the 3-2, they don't tell us how much you're collecting in rents either. Maybe they're all vacant. Okay, no, it's actually tenant occupied. It'd be nice if they told us how much you're collecting for rent, but they might not be collecting a lot. So, all right. A 3-2, guys, in Miami. Let's do a quick little rent check here. A 3-2 in Miami-Dade. You're going to be getting $3,000 a month. Okay. On average, and I think that this property could probably pull off the average. And a 2-1 in Miami-Dade is going to get $2,300 a month. Okay. And shoot, for the 3-2, you might get actually more. You know. So I would say maybe you could probably get away with like 3,300. Okay. And so just as it is, guys, just as it is, I think that maybe the returns here for this, let's see, 796K duplex in Miami-Dade, the rents as is are going to be 5,600. That means that the best returns we could get here are 10.5% returns, which just beats the S&P. Okay, just beats it, but not by a whole freaking lot. Okay. On your DSCR rate, you'd be doing okay. You'd be close to be able to, get a loan. It would just be at a higher interest rate from the bank, and that's with a 25% down payment. Let's see if you could prove these rents, of course. Now, I think that you could probably drop the price here, maybe like some 80K, like down to maybe 725 or something like that. So if you dropped it to 725, let's see. The rents I think would be the same. I think this is the highest rents that you're gonna be able to collect. But if you're able to drop to 725, now you're it's 300 price drop. So let's do this, 725, guys. And where does that take us? Now you'd be able to get a nice loan on this, a DSCR of 1.27, okay, or 127%. And that would take your returns up to 12.5% return on investment, okay? And that's with a $71,000 price drop. You would be cash flowing on day one, again, with a 25% down payment. And if you did 10% down payment, you'd be cash flowing after, just 4.5 years, right? So when that PMI drops off, MIP, whatever, then you would be in the green, or in the black, however you want to call it. Now, that being said, I just like to do this stuff. What happens if you do interest rates at 4.5%? Like you buy this property, it's going well, you're cash flowing, right? But all of a sudden, and mind you, hold on, let's do escape. If you did a 25% down payment, how much would you be cash flowing per month? Okay. Well, you'd be cash flowing right off the start, $350 a month, right? By year 10, you'd be cash flowing on the 10% property, 10% down payment to about $700 a month. But look what happens if you change interest rates to 4.5%, guys. Shoot, you'd be cash flowing by almost $1,000, with a 25% down payment. And within 10 years, you'd be doing $2,000. And the guy that did 10% down payment would be just paying $236, the first year. And you can see that this guy, the 10% guy, probably around year 2 or 3, he'd be in the red. Not in the red. He'd be in the black too. So he'd be doing pretty good. But again, I like to imagine best case scenarios, like what happens, because it gives me the motivation to invest now, because I really do think that in the future interest rates will be going down to that area more or less. All right. So with that being said, this property at best is a 12.5, probably the best one we've seen so far. but we have one more to go. Let's see if it could beat it. Okay, this property looks familiar. It says 0 days on market, property history. I could swear that we've seen this property before. Yeah. They listed this property on the 25th. They canceled it and they relisted it. I don't remember what this actually I do. I should have it here. Let's see, guys. 2 days ago, right? So 26, 27 for 925. Yeah, 925. Oh, this property looks terrible. Yeah. So this property got a big fat F. Okay. At best, 5.7% returns. They want $1 million for it, and they're collecting. He says $3,500 for each of the 3 twos in Palm Beach, and I think that we found out that that was a big fat lie. That the best that this property could actually collect is $6,600. Okay. Hold on. Oh no, I lied, guys. This is sorry. I'm telling you, I write down all my notes here, right? And I just confused one line over the other. This property is 925. Let me just draw a big line here so I could guide myself. It's a duplex in Palm Beach. They say that they're collecting $7,000 a month in rent, which would make the returns on this an 11.4% return on investment. But the reality is more that this property could collect about $6,600 more a month in rent, okay, not $7,000. And I think that with a $100,000 price drop, right, down to 825, right, and collecting then the property would give you much better returns, as good as and mind you, these are different taxes here. That's why it's off, but as good as 14.2%. So this could be a potentially really nice property to buy. It just requires a little bit more homework, and it depends on you being able to negotiate that price down. I don't know why they canceled it and threw it back onto the market, probably to take care of this stuff here. I don't know really why. But yeah, in any case, guys, those were it. Those were the properties for today. There were really only 5 because one of them came out 2 days ago. But they relisted it, canceled the listing and relisted it. So, all right, guys, with that being said, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys tomorrow.